Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, your weekly explanation of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters through the Silver and the Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us to the conclusion of the two-part Justice Society story we started last week in All-Star Comics 64. This week we're bringing you issue 65, published on the 30th of December, 1976. Merry Christmas, everyone! Still got a few other comics through from that month. And I've got an astonishing trivia bomb to drop when we do one of the comics published in December 76. So watch out for that one, listeners. And watch out for that one, Peter Watson, who will now tell us about the cover to All-Star 65.
Well, David, I've got an historic moment for you as well, because this is the first episode of the Earth 2 podcast where we are covering a comic that has the classic DC bullet in the top left corner.
Oh my goodness!
Yep, the angled DC logo with the 4 stars around it, a circle within a circle, is here. It's going to be here for us all the way through Crisis.
Wow.
Obviously, we'll still have a few of the older style logos coming up because we're doing 2 of these issues in a row here.
Yes.
But this is the first time we've had the classic DC logo, and it's a milestone. I love it.
It's a beauty.
This is what I think of when I think of DC Comics.
Agreed. I remember it fondly as a kid. I've thought about getting it as a tattoo more than once.
It's a good idea.
Doubt that'll happen now, to be honest. Anyway, do we know who designed it?
Yep. Fun facts, folks. When Jeanette Kahn became DC's publisher in late 1976, she commissioned graphic designer Milton Glaser to design a new logo. This was then referred to as the DC Bullet. It first came out in the February 1977 titles. Although it varied in size and colour, it was sometimes cropped. But it's a classic. It's a staple. It's in the top left corner of all the comics we're going to be doing. It's terrific. I love it. I genuinely love it. It's bah.
Peter's getting a bit misty-eyed, listeners. Oh, no, I love it too. It feels quite significant that it's here because, you know, It's a good way of marking out the progress, isn't it?
Certainly is.
Of where we're up to. We've reached the bullet, so we'll have to bite on the bullet, and start ticking off the last ones that we actually see over the next month or so. That'll be interesting.
And look at the colours of them. This is the green DC bullet, this one, predominantly. So there we are.
If you were to get the DC bullet as a tattoo, Peter, and indeed listeners, which colour would you get? I think I would probably just get black.
Black, I think, it was the later 80s one. So yeah, that's the kind of one I'd go for, I think. It became more predominant then.
Or red, maybe.
Yeah.
Because you just sort of...
The red, the blue. Blue's nice. Blue, classic, like royal blue, yeah.
Listeners, you know what to do. Right, so on with the rest of the cover.
On with the other 95% of the cover. The legendary Justice Society of America in All-Star Comics with the Super Squad. Yep, again, you need to cut that out, folks. There's far too much text there. We have images of Superman, Power Girl, and the Flash underneath the DC bullet. It's 30 cents, number 65, April, and production code's 30417. It's approved by the Comics Code Authority, but you don't want to hear any of that. You want to hear about the main image on the cover. At last, the return of Vandal Savage, which is no surprise to anyone who's listened to the first half of this episode. We're in a futuristic city. There's Vandal Savage right in the centre of this image, and he's fighting off various members of the Justice Society of America with the Super Squad.
Yes.
Vandal wearing a skin-tight green onesie.
Yeah, very different to what he's worn before.
Yes, it's very 70s, very horrendous. He is basically backhanding Star Spangled Kid out the way. He is decking Superman. My goodness, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Power Girl's coming in from behind to try and take him down. Hawkman is coming in from the front. His wings actually seem to be attached to his back. They don't actually seem to be attached to a harness. There's no sign of a harness there.
Oh, that's a point.
Which is unusual. And as he's punching out Superman, Vandal says, "I've crossed the centuries to kill you, Superman. For with your death, I become the immortal villain."
Gasp. Now, I'm going to say something a little controversial here.
Go for it.
I think this is one of the worst comic covers I've ever seen in my life. I think this is appalling. It's certainly the worst cover of All-Star Comics in the revived 70s era, and probably one of the weakest covers that we'll do on the podcast. Bite me. I think it's awful. There's too much dead space at the top. There's too much dead space around the heroes. Superman doesn't seem to have a right leg below the knee.
No, true.
And as Vandal punches him, Superman's left leg is sort of kicked. So it almost in a way looks like Superman is lying down with his right knee tucked behind him and Vandal's attempting to punch him in the crotch. And there's a weird little helicopter thing, it seems, floating in the air beside Sylvester, which is odd.
Yeah.
And as you say, Hawkman's wings just growing out of his back is weird. And the way Power Girl, it just looks like 5 individual drawings have all just been cut out and laid down hurriedly on a very basic background.
Yeah, also looks like Vandal's dislocated his left shoulder, because that arm's far too far back.
Yes.
It's very oddly angled.
Yes. I'm miming it for the benefit of our YouTube viewers. I'm sure all the listeners have got a copy of the cover in front of them. Listeners, do you think this is the worst cover of any comics that we've covered, or indeed of this run of All-Star Comics?
Write in and let us know.
So, jumping in, we open with an image of Superman and Power Girl in the centre of a circular radiating force field. And then the captions begin.
1400 years and 1 minute ago, Vandal Savage captured the JSA at Castle Camelot. 30 seconds later, Castle Camelot vanished, leaving 2 confused super beings trapped in the pulsating sphere of raw energy, an unyielding globe that has resisted their combined strength. Lesser mortals would despair, and well they might, but these 2 heroes are more than mortal. One is the grey-haired guardian whose name gave birth to the term superhero. The other is his young cousin, who will give new meaning to the title. They are Superman and Power Girl, and they can only act.
Yes, and it's worth pointing out that the Superman logo is the one that we're used to seeing in the cover of his own comics, but Power Girl has a logo of her own, and it's just sort of jaggy green writing. Let's watch out for that logo being used again in the future, shall we? Yes. Supes and Power Girl seem to almost be conversing by telepathy, but they fly away from each other, punching the edges of this sphere that they're trapped in, with Superman saying, "We couldn't crack this when we hit it together, but if we aim for opposite sides," and Power Girl concludes, "the combined stress might just tear it apart. Do it, cousin." And they fly indeed at opposite sides of the sphere with a massive sound effect, and then we get another caption.
Earth 2, a world much like our own, yet slightly different. There, young and old have joined forces to battle evil. The greatest heroes of the Golden Age return from retirement to team up with the newest heroes to form the All-Star Super Squad.
Take a drink every time Peter has to say All-Star Super Squad. Over the page, Superman is saying, "That did it. Split the shield like an eggshell, and the rest of Savage's machines are fading too. Now we can find out where we are." And indeed, we can see the sphere that was surrounding them starting to melt away, almost like a bubble that's burst, as Power Girl says, "I'm more interested in finding Savage and the rest of the team."
Sound thinking, Power Girl, but you'll have a difficult enough time finding yourself as the world around you shifts. Fading in and out like an unfocused kaleidoscope, a spinning wheel of colours and shapes gone wild. As suddenly as it began, it ends. A futuristic world appearing out of a cyclone of confusion, announcing the master plan of Vandal Savage.
Sadly, it's not the Dalek master plan of Vandal Savage. That would have been very current.
It would be, yeah.
We get a little scroll caption, which gives us the credits for the issue.
Paul Levitz, dialogue. Wallywood, plot and art. Liz Berube, colour. No room for Ben Oda letterer on this one.
That's a shame. Poor Ben. The Super Cousins are standing on a platform above a huge Dalek-style futuristic city, and they're immediately attacked by a floating gun platform made of connecting spheres. Supes leaps and destroys it before returning to Power Girl, who we see is standing with a bald, caped man wearing a sort of purple and orange outfit, who's identified by Power Girl as a native of the planet they are now on. The new arrival tells us all that Vandal Savage has destroyed their government, killed their leaders, and enslaved the population. He goes on to tell the heroes to follow him and he will lead them to Vandal. But he turns out to be a projected image. He fades out after leading the cousins into a trap. We see them stood in a futuristic tech-filled corridor, and they're suddenly bookended by spherical antimatter vortexes that are rapidly closing in. And then we suddenly switch back to the 6th century and observe J-Flash in conversation with King Arthur. The real King Arthur, who is saying,
"I know not where yon villain may have fled, fleet one, for he is all of Merlin's skill to call upon. Cursed day Vandal Savage came to my court. He hath used his evil power to enchant us all. Even Merlin, whose sorcery he has used to open the veil of time. In truth, he even spoke of travelling 20,000 years to see your valiant teammates die.
And at this point, there's a cracking shot of Jay Flash vibrating and speeding off, leaving King Arthur behind as Jay says,
I was only semi-conscious when Savage vanished, but there was a futuristic scene showing, and your clue just pinpointed it. Thanks, Your Majesty.
And there is then a phenomenal panel of Jay Flash running through a weird sort of spiral background that has clearly had photographic images of the moon and some other spheres dropped in to it. Hopefully there'll be room for it in the socials. I'm definitely going to put it in a tweet. This is obviously Jay traversing the time barrier or something. Some captions return.
And so, using his super speed to crash through the time barrier to a distant future era, the fastest man alive begins a search that could take even him an eternity. For those he searches for are not in the future at all.
And then it's a slightly confusing panel which seems to show Jay bursting back into the real world, surrounded by a little ripple of pink energy, in front of a bald man in a purple uniform with a cape. Or is he being watched on a screen by the bald man in the purple uniform with a cape? It's not too clear. We'll have to see what happens when we cut back to Jay. For now, we return to Superman and Power Girl, whose powers are being drained by the antimatter spheres. But not for long, as Superman and Power Girl break out through the wall of the passageway, leaving the globes to collide and violently explode.
Shaboom!
We see Power Girl and Superman floating away from a huge structure which is exploding at the top. This is obviously the building they've escaped from. Power Girl says, that takes care of the trap, but we're still missing the trapster, Vandal Savage. And then a sort of jaggedy speech bubble, which to me suggests something being transmitted or received over a speaker, crackles in, and Vandal's voice can be heard saying,
I am not so poor a host as that, Power Girl. Indeed, I have been with you since you first arrived here, and I shall remain with you until your dying breath.
And then we see a sort of translucent shot of Vandal's head. It's enormous, filling the sky. Superman says, a gigantic projected image of Savage's head. And Power Girl says, image or not, I'm going to rip it apart. She flies up towards him, but then the eyeballs of the projected Vandal shoot a burst of pink energy at her with a
zap!
As Vandal says,
Unlikely, dear lady, for what is a face but a mask behind which many things hide.
And then we see a little round robot with sort of aeroplane engines sort of sticking out of the side and robotic tentacles catching Power Girl as Vandal continues.
Farewell, Superman. I shall finish you off later, in another place, in another manner. For in my 50,000 years of existence, no one has accused Vandal Savage of being unimaginative.
And as we see Power Girl being carried off by one robotic tentacle, Superman leaps after her, saying, maybe not, Savage, but after I get finished with you, there won't be enough left of you to call names. And then, helpfully, he says, What's happening? I can't get high enough. I'm losing my strength. Falling.
Unable to sustain his leap, the Man of Steel twists and shifts in midair, searching for a wind current to help carry him forward. And, when all else fails, bracing himself for the fall to come.
Yes, we see Supes plummeting from the sky and then falling through the roof of a building, leaving a nice Superman silhouette-shaped hole. And then we see him lying on the ground, surrounded by what looks actually like quite a lot of broken machinery and other rubble, as he says quietly, weak, as though something was stealing my strength. And he gets to his feet, looking around, he says, but, weakened or not, I'll still find Power Girl, wherever she is on Earth. And he looks out beyond where he's standing, and we see the one I've got for it is a sort of spread of futuristic tall buildings, and the caption gives us some more colour when it reads,
the word dies half unsaid on his tongue as the son of Krypton gazes up into the sky, as twin green suns scorch the air, announcing to all that the land they overlook is not Earth, and certainly not the Earth where the Flash is searching for his teammates.
And then we see the Flash starting what looks like a path through a sort of rocky jungle area. This is back to us at first, but he's thinking,
20,000 years before Arthur's time, and they're not here either. This is beginning to look like a wild goose chase through history. No matter how fast I am, I can't look everywhere. And what if Vandal Savage didn't mean calendar years at all, but light years through space?
And over a very timely shot of the Earth and the Moon in outer space, given what's been going on in the real world as we record, Jay's thoughts conclude,
I'd better return to Camelot and wait for them. Wait and hope.
There is then another cutaway to Green Lantern Alan Scott watching as the headquarters building of Gotham Broadcasting is emptied by creditors. He muses to himself, "That's the end of Gotham Broadcasting. They're taking it all away from me. 30 years of building and it's gone in an hour. I was fighting crime with the JSA when I should have been watching my investments, and now it's not mine anymore. How to save the world and be bankrupted as a reward. I wonder whether justice isn't that." And he moves inside a building at this point. We're not sure where, but could be the building that he was standing on the roof of, or maybe he moved inside the Gotham Broadcasting HQ. But there's a silhouetted, shadowy figure waiting for him who says,
"There is no justice in this world, Green Lantern. Not even you can really believe in justice anymore."
"I'm not sure what I believe, or why I'm standing here discussing my troubles with a stranger." And then we get a close-up of some wide eyes as the stranger replies,
"You are talking because I will listen, Lantern, and because otherwise your despair will conquer you." More on this next issue, reader. Meanwhile,
we then return to the HQ of Vandal Savage, where we see Vandal watching Superman getting beaten up by a couple of robots on a video screen. He gives the instruction that Superman is to be taken to the arena. We then see that Vandal also has Power Girl restrained at a table, as he says to her,
"You see, my dear, how powerless your cousin has become. Both of you are losing your strength here on this world. My world with the Kryptonite suns. After my last defeat on Earth-1, I became convinced that I could not regain my lost immortality naturally. So I built this world to steal it back."
And there is a little asterisk which takes us to a caption that reminds us to go back and check Flash 235.
Or indeed the previous episode of this podcast.
And Vandal continues,
"A pity you can't stay awake to appreciate my scheme, but then I couldn't calculate how strong an effect the kryptonite would have on you. Not when it was designed to weaken Superman to a precise degree."
And now we see Vandal walking up a short flight of steps and leaving through a well-lit doorway as he concludes with a parting shot.
"Sleep well, and forever."
Superman comes to his senses in a large, futuristic Star Wars prequel-like arena, with a gloating Vandal Savage standing over him. Vandal tells Supes of his intent to steal Kal's life force to restore his own immortality, and they begin to exchange blows, and we see the fight is being observed by Merlin, who's watching on yet another video screen. Merlin realises that because Vandal is focused on Superman, his hold over Merlin is broken, and knowing that he won't have much time, the wizard frees Hawkman from his cell, giving him a gun to replace his wings which have been destroyed. Unfortunately, they are spotted by a sentry robot who zaps Merlin, saying,
"Prisoner being freed. Unauthorized action. Master Comp orders wizard returned to Earth's past. Order executed."
And Merlin grows transparent and vanishes with a scream. Hawkman destroys the robot with his gun before it can do anything else. More robots appear, and Hawkman blasts a hole in the wall to escape. He finds himself looking down from a very great height.
The fall below him defies measurement, at least on any yardstick save fear. For a normal man would turn away from the yawning concrete canyon in terror. But Carter Hall, the Hawkman, does not.
And then we see Hawkman leaping off the side of the building and plummeting down through the city.
Even without his wings, the air holds no danger for him. His glistening belt is composed with the legendary nth metal, the only true anti-gravity force known to man. In normal flight, the mysterious metal lifts him from the ground, and his mighty wings carve a pathway for him through the air. Now the nth metal slows his descent, making him drift like a feather, and his own arms provide all the guidance he needs.
Yes, because we see that Hawkman is being fired upon, probably by the robots, but he's managed to grab hold of a sort of metal bar and swing himself down to land on the ground. And he runs off with the blasts hitting the ground behind him as he says,
That put some distance between me and Savage's mechanized militia. But now I have to find the rest of the team. We're not going to get anywhere on this crazy planet unless Superman can figure a way to get us out of here.
Top of the next page, Hawkman looks up at a tall structure with a vast, glowing pink orb at its summit. Realising it's Vandal's HQ, Hawkman climbs to the top, blasting hand and foot holds using his pistol. Reaching the top, he makes short work of a couple of android guards, using his fists because the gun has run out of charge. Making his way inside, he finds the Star-Spangled Kid restrained in a large gizmo that's draining the cosmic converter belt of its power. There is an awful lot of power draining going on. Hawkman is astonished to see his colleague. He says,
"What? The Star-Spangled Kid? Hawkman, is that you? Come on, get me out of here. These crazy gimmicks are draining the power from my cosmic converter."
Hawkman drops down beside Sylvester, saying,
Patience, patience. I want to enjoy this a minute first. I think it's the only time I've ever heard you asking for help. Very funny, wingless wonder, and if you keep up the comedy, you can grow your own feathers.
Between panels, Hawkman has obviously freed the Star-Spangled Kid from his gizmo-like prison, and then we see Sylvester gesturing with his hands and creating a little burst of golden energy, and by the looks of it, creating something else, as he says,
Usually I only make wings for my friends, but in this case, I'll have to make an exception since Vandal Savage is murdering Superman, and you're going to have to stop him. Why, where are you disappearing to? While you take care of Savage, I'll see if I can find a way to help Superman.
And as the two heroes separate, we see behind them what looks like an image of Chris Evans, the actor who plays Captain America, punching out Superman. Take a look for yourselves, listeners, and let me know if you agree.
James Gunn, if you're listening, Chris Evans for Vandal Savage.
Yes. Top of page 13. And we see the crowd in the arena are watching Vandal knocking lumps out of Superman on, guess what? A giant screen. Suddenly, the picture vanishes, and we find that this is because Hawkman has destroyed one of the floating cameras. An enraged Vandal leaps up to tackle him, and below, we see the Star-Spangled Kid using the cosmic converter belt and zapping Superman. Vandal quickly gets tired of chasing after Hawkman and returns to the ground to find Superman seemingly recovered and wearing a sort of fishbowl space helmet, and he's suddenly got two canisters on his back. Did the Star-Spangled Kid produce them? I guess. Superman says, "Like my suit, Savage. It may not be fancy, but it was the best the Star-Spangled Kid could do on the spur of the moment. But as long as it helps protect me from the kryptonite solar rays, I can't complain. And of course, it helps me do this." Superman tackles Vandal, who punches back, saying,
"Quite true, Superman. Unfortunately, it does not protect you from me as well as it does the kryptonite."
Star-Spangled Kid gets a close-up as he says,
"Incredible. Savage is still stronger than Supes. Where's he getting the... Of course. He's draining his strength from Power Girl. I've got to find her. And fast."
And after a very quick search, which only takes a couple of panels, he does. Power Girl is still strapped to the flat surface and is guarded by robots who try and zap Star-Spangled Kid. He makes short work of them thanks to the cosmic converter belt. He then frees Power Girl, and we return to the fight between Vandal Savage and Supes. Superman gets the upper hand and lifts Vandal off his feet and throws him smack into a wall. Star-Spangled Kid notices that a large number of robots is massing behind Superman and shouts a warning.
"Look out behind you, Supes. You've got company."
Company, yes, but not exactly the sort you'd want to bring home to meet the family.
Yes, and we get a great shot of lots of robots, quite frankly. They kind of look like a whole bunch of Gorts from The Day the Earth Stood Still, but the visor on the front of his face has fallen off, if that helps you
Yes.
visualise them, listeners. Klaatu Verada Nicta.
Or they could be Rom's cousins.
Yes, Robin's cousins, of course, who supported the Montrose Avenue in their final tour when they played Middlesbrough Arena in October 1998. Superman grabs a big chunk of plaster or rock from the looks of things and walks towards the robots, forcing them back, saying, "Sorry guys, but I don't feel like playing today. Besides, I think you'd be better off playing outside because by the time I finish in here, inside is going to be outside anyway." And we see that Supes, having got rid of the robots, has moved to a couple of support pillars and a very Samson-like movement is pushing them apart, so the whole structure of the arena is starting to crumble, as a caption reads.
Like another man of legend, Superman braces his powerful arms against solid granite supports and flexes steel-like muscles. The result of irresistible force against an immovable object is predictable. It brings down the house.
Yes, But then we suddenly cut to what looks like an interior corridor, and a caption reads,
Not all the members of the audience, however, appreciate the act.
and we see Vandal Savage is legging it, sprinting off, running away from Soups, who's following him saying, "Hold it, Savage, I'm not through with you yet." And a very grumpy Savage, obviously with his dialogue now written by Eric Sayward, says,
All my plans ruined by these meddling fools.
"Savage!" yells Superman, racing after him as Vandal says,
You haven't won yet, Superman. When I reach my control panel, you'll have more trouble than you dreamed possible.
and Vandal is now running through the arena with her hand outstretched as if he's definitely going somewhere, but suddenly in front of him, a weird black sphere of odd crisscrossed energy appears.
For suddenly a hole in space opens before him, a black gateway to Neverwhere, filled only with two shadowy forms summoning him, beginning a journey whose ending will be revealed elsewhere, leaving behind only confusion.
Basically, some more radiating circular waves of energy, very like the ones that were trapping Power Girl and Superman at the start, and very like the ones that the Flash ran in front of, have appeared, and two dark, almost formless humanoid silhouettes have appeared, and they've grabbed Vandal, and he now seems to have fallen unconscious, and they're pulling him in to the black circle at the heart of this vortex. What is going on? We'll have to see if Vandal comes back in any of the subsequent issues of All-Star Comics before we find out. We then cut to Hawkman, Power Girl, the Star-Spangled Kid and Superman. As Hawkman says,
That was an incredible rescue Savage pulled off.
"I don't think it was planned, friends," starts Superman. "Those strangers seem to drag Savage through that warp. I don't think we'll be seeing him again." Power Girl chips in with, "I'm more interested in seeing home again. Let's get back to Camelot, pick up Flash and Shining Knight and close the books on this mess." And then there's an abrupt shift. A caption reads,
Prologue.
and we get a close-up on the left-hand side of the panel of what looks like the signalman to me. It's a close-fitting yellow hood. I think it's supposed to be someone else because Wildcat walks in and says, "How's tricks, our man? I came by to spell you between rounds of guard duty." And then our man produces a gun and zaps Wildcat with a burst of pink energy saying, "Thank you, Wildcat, but that will not be necessary." And Wildcat can only exclaim, "Wah!" And as he falls, we see that the icicle is standing beside our man, and he says,
He has already been relieved of his responsibilities, fool, by the Injustice Society.
and a caption reads,
If you thought they were dangerous before, wait till you see them now. Deadlier than ever, Icicle, Brainwave, the Thinker, the Wizard, as Injustice Strikes Twice.
On sale February 22nd.
Gosh. Yes, listeners, we're kind of breaking with our planned routine and we'll be bringing you All-Star Comics 66 next week. A cliffhanger ending. Right, that was a bit whiplash-inducing, wasn't it, this issue?
Yes, it's a really weird conclusion to the first part, which was all medieval action and stuff, and suddenly we're in this futuristic-looking city, which is an alien planet, but one of the buildings looks like the Legion of Superheroes headquarters without the L.
It does. The one that we established as being the Vandal's headquarters, the one with the giant globe at the top.
Yeah.
There might be an image of, in fact, there will be a picture of it in the socials in at least one form or another this week.
Uh-huh.
Given how much attention to detail there was in issue 64 for all the Camelot stuff, it just strikes me as bizarre that we're suddenly in a cheap Star Trek set.
Yeah.
Was this issue filmed in the backlot at Paramount? Because it certainly looks like it.
It's very Season 3 Star Trek original series. Isn't it?
Yeah, and whereas I suppose issue 64 is a bit series 2, where they've basically dressed up with what they can find in the costume cupboard.
I'm amazed Superman's shirt wasn't ripped when he was fighting Vandal Savage.
Yes.
And he did a double drop kick on him.
Yeah.
That'd have been hilarious.
Or that Sylvester didn't get to have a nice romance with a local alien girl.
Indeed.
It's a weird one. I mean, obviously we do cut back to, and we skimmed over some details, we do cut back to King Arthur and Merlin, so there is a little bit of tying it. We'll have to see if there's anything at all to do with them next month. That'll be interesting. Because I'm a bit worried about Merlin, the way he just vanished with a scream. But anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of vanishing, where was the Shining Knight?
Yeah, exactly.
He was the whole, like, starting point for this whole adventure, and he was trailed for a couple of issues.
Yeah.
And then he was a big part of the previous issue, and he's absolutely, completely, utterly absent from this one.
Yeah.
Was it a case of they kind of like just forgot he was there, and it was just like, oh, we'll just mention him in passing?
Yeah. And Merlin, in the short few lines of dialogue that he has with Hawkman, doesn't even mention Sir Justin. I mean, it's a bit, again, whiplash-inducing. It's very surprising.
He's only mentioned at the very end. That's it.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. Merlin's hat's ridiculous as well. It's a pointy hat with all of the planets and stars and everything on it. It just looks... It looks like something you'd get out of a party shop.
Yeah, it's great, though. It's exactly what you imagine a wizard's hat would look like in 1976. It's perfect.
But not in the 6th century.
No, maybe not.
So we've got to talk a lot about flight in this story, because, you know, Hawkman, like, basically gliding down using his anti-gravity belt was really cool.
I thought that bit was fantastic.
Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant.
I loved that.
Although the creation of the wings is just bizarre. It's basically the Cosmic Converter belt can now do anything.
Yes.
It's only just been introduced, but it's now your get out jail free card.
Yes. I'm not into that at all.
Mm-hmm.
It would have made much more sense if Hawkman's wings had just been taken from him and stored in the same place that Sylvester was being held prisoner.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make absolute perfect sense. But that's not what happened here. So,
no. I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it? Sylvester uses the Cosmic Converter belt to give Clark a bit of a charge later on, because obviously his power is being drained by these kryptonite suns, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
So when did Vandal get all this kryptonite to create enough of it to form two artificial suns?
Exactly.
There's so much going on in these two issues that it's almost like first novel syndrome for Paul Levitz at this point. He's just writing, I'm going to do this, and I'll do that. And there's not really enough room to follow up on it or really dwell on what he's doing.
Well, I'm wondering how much of this is Paul Levitz and how much of it's Wally Wood, because it's Wally Wood plot, it says.
That's a very good point, yeah. Was it done sort of Marvel style? Did Wally draw it and then Paul had to come in and overwrite all the captions and dialogue on top of it?
That's the thing, it literally just says Paul Levitz dialogue, Wally Wood plot and art.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking maybe Paul's gone, okay, right. So I'll do this.
With that in mind, if you take away all the captions and dialogue, it's astonishingly easy to follow this story. Because it's very clear at all times what's going on. Some of the captioning does that old-fashioned reaffirming and telling us what we can actually see.
Yeah.
Apart from the dialogue telling Hawkman that his wings aren't there, I mean, that whole panel with Hawkman jumping out and falling and plummeting is pretty clear to follow what's going on.
True.
I was very amused at the sheer number of video screens involved in this issue.
Yes, it's definitely sponsored by Samsung or someone, this issue.
Yes.
Everyone's got a big screen telly. It's hilarious, including Merlin in the 6th century.
I know.
It's wonderful.
Merlin and Vandal were using a big screen at one point in issue 64, weren't they? So, yeah, I guess it must be the same one.
It could be, but then all the audience were watching the battle on a giant screen behind, the way you do for one of these modern pop concerts.
Yeah.
That people go to that see the modern pop bands.
Yes, this is true. Logan and I have built many a video wall in our time. In the true sense of the word, this issue is a little bit more... Both of these issues, actually, they are rather spectacular. There's an awful lot going on. They'd be very satisfying on the big screen. I think we said as much for the last part, that Wally has a very cinematic storytelling style.
Yes, I'm with you.
In sharp contrast to the art style for the next issue, which we'll discuss next week. There are some brilliant images. Everything's crystal clear from the illustration, what's going on. It's a bit of a bit of storytelling from a master storyteller, I think.
I mean, for example, the fight scenes with Vandal and Superman, that is not Earth 1 Superman. It is not a Kurt Swan Superman. This guy's a brawler. This guy's down and dirty.
Yes.
His poses are different. I know we've said about the eyes and everything, that sort of thing, but it just carries himself in a different way. It's definitely a different character. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Definitely. It's a shame this is Wally Wood's last issue, to be honest. It's really interesting to see, what would happen if he'd kept going with some more of it. But yes, it's very enjoyable. The subplot of Green Lantern's bankruptcy continues to bubble under after last issue's argument with his secretary.
Because that's what 70s kids want to see.
Exactly. And obviously, I like Jay's little sidestep, but I wonder who it was that Jay, that panel quite early on when you see Jay sort of appearing as a bald man, either watching him or that was a bit confusing. Yeah. I've seen a bit of a dead end narratively.
Yeah. I mean, the Green Lantern subplot kind of annoys me.
Okay.
Because how many millionaires does Alan Scott know? How many millionaires are in the Justice Society? that could help out, you know? Bruce, Wes, all of them.
This is true. Maybe, to quote Jason Donovan on side 2 of his first album, maybe it's a question of pride.
It's also a question of his staff, who are all going to lose their jobs. Sometimes you need to swallow that pride for the greater good. The greater good.
Yeah, I mean, he could have asked Wesley Dodds for a tap. He could have asked Hawkman or Dr. Fate for some gold to sell.
He could have asked Star Spangled Kid just to create piles of gold with his cosmic converter belt, which apparently it probably can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, like, you know, in what poor state was this company that Alan being absent for a couple of days is enough to send it, or maybe he just maybe he's had his eye off the ball for quite a while. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out as well. Maybe that we'll finally get a bit of proper progress on it in the next issue.
Perhaps he was too busy thinking, how can I possibly get them to dump this Super Squad name and just go back to Justice Society? That's been preying in his mind. He's been thinking about that for months now.
Yes. I think I'm going to be thinking quite a lot going forward about what happens to Vandal at the end of issue 65, for that is bizarre.
Yes. Vandal made a basic schoolboy error in this because he's got this new green costume. And at one point, Hawkman's flying down from above to tackle Vandal, and Vandal can't go after him. And Hawkman says, "What's the matter, Savage? Don't tell me you can't fly." Now, if you remember, in Vandal Savage's first Silver Age appearance that we covered a long time ago.
Yes, back in the space year 2020.
That's it. He designed a costume for himself that meant he could fly. Why is he not wearing that?
That's a thought.
If you had a costume that meant you could fly, you would wear it a lot, I think.
I'd wear it all the time.
Exactly.
I'd be wearing it right now. I'd be recording my lines from up there beside the ceiling.
Excellent.
That's a really good point. I mean, it's an interesting sort of idea that they are kind of trying to follow on from Vandal's last sort of appearances. He's trying to regain his immortality. So it will be interesting to see. And Peter and I know this because we were talking about it at work yesterday. We had a look into the future. We'll have to wait and see how long it is before Vandal reappears, and if this issue gets addressed, and what's happened to him by the next time he turns up.
Yes. Join us in 2030 when we reach that stage.
Yes. Bookmark this episode, listeners, for when Vandal Savage returns in the pages of Action Comics.
And the saviours are revealed.
Yes. So, again, we get the little bit of our man being manipulated by the icicle. Hopefully that's finally going to come to fruition and get a proper bit of development in issue 66. Open brackets. We know that it does. Close brackets.
I thought in this issue, Power Girl's costume looked a lot better than it did in the last issue. It's like Wallywood settled into drawing the new style with, you know, the high neck.
Sure.
Yeah, it suits her better than this one, although... weirdly, that first image of her on the splash page, she looks about 8 years old. That first face. It's so bizarre. Yeah,
in panel 2, because it talks about her being his young cousin and she looks very young. Yeah, she does.
It does look preteen. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, isn't it?
But then after that, she's back to normal. But that's just, it was kind of jarring when I first read it, I'll be honest.
I agree with you. And she doesn't really get too much else to do in this issue.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
I loved all the exciting backgrounds Wallywood used in this as well, like all the concentric circles and the weird antimatter globes and stuff. They look very stylised, and obviously, as you referenced, the kind of like Fumeti planets in the background.
Yeah.
And some of the images. It's quite experimental, but very stylised, and it really does enhance the story. I thoroughly enjoyed that, yeah.
Very much so. Strong agree, because obviously we know that Kirby did some similar stuff in Fantastic Four and elsewhere, etc. And it's the sort of thing, you know, when it pops up, it's very effective, as long as you don't do it too often.
Yeah.
You know, but it's used very sparingly, and it really does, especially the shot of Jay sort of traversing time, it really does enhance the sort of sense of the unreal, almost.
That reminds me, actually, you can talk about Jay going through time, because they did use, in the previous issue, Jay's time travel device that he had created in the JSA lab. But if he can travel through time on his own, why can't he take people with him? Maybe it's just too many people for him to take. Oh, then again, it wouldn't change their clothes and enable them to talk in the vernacular, which was the thing.
Yeah, I mean, that the thing is, in the previous issue, they're all travelling in time using that machine he's built, but here he's doing it under his own steam. Yeah. Which is astonishing. It's quite a departure. Very odd. Lots of questions and speculations there, listeners. We shall see what everyone thought about it at the time.
So, we jump ahead a couple of issues to All-Star Comments in issue 67. And the first letter says, Dear Sirs, I'm quite impressed with the progression taking place in All-Star Comics. Issue 65 spurred some interesting thoughts on my part. It was great to see Woody getting into the writing end, although the plotline in general has always been strong. The JSA has got what the Legion should have. Get the hint, Paul? Gasp.
Blimey.
Green Lantern's mysterious visitor seems familiar. I'd wager a guess that with the trend in villainous revivals, it could be the Psycho Pirate. It has to be. His emotional state warrants the infiltration the JSA is currently experiencing. Paul's dialogue adds a powerful, real third dimension to the strip that some of DC's other strips are lacking. What age is Power Girl anyway? If she's a teen, where did she get that figure?
Oh dear.
Yes, comments from the time, folks. Come on, Woody, spill it! On a more serious note, Woody's art gave the story atmosphere, something most futuristic strips totally lack. Their ending was a somewhat simpler wood style, an interesting change. And that's from Rick Taylor from Naperville, Illinois.
Steve, have you ever been to Naperville? Let us know. The first part of the editorial response addresses an aspect of Rick's letter which we're not going to confirm nor deny because we don't want to spoil what might happen next. But editorial response continues by saying, as for Power Girl's figure, let's chalk that up to her ancestry. Any girl designed by Joe Orlando and drawn by Wally Wood is bound to be a bit, shall we say, healthy. She is a teenager though, and we promise to delve further into her origin in the near future. Probably in an issue of Showcase. And that was very creepy and inappropriate, but yes, of course, as we all know, Power Girl gets 3 issues of Showcase and we'll be covering them before too long. Editorial response continues. Speaking of origins, watch for next month's DC special number 29, in which the untold origin of the Justice Society is revealed as 10 Titanic heroes unite to defeat Hitler's invasion of England. The regular All-Stars of Orlando, Levitz, Staten and Leighton will be narrating, so yes, that is something to look forward to. Obviously, listeners, Peter is already casting and inviting contributions and checking the availability of some of our regulars. Watch out for that.
Indeed.
Next letter reads, Dear Mr. Orlando, this letter may seem extremely negative, but I'm worried about All-Star Comics. Justice League has gone to giant size. The Legion of Superheroes has gone monthly, but the original team book just barely hangs in there. Something's wrong. A dozen years of brief summer exposure and now a thin bi-monthly title have not restored the Justice Society to its former glory. We've got to take a good hard look at why it isn't clicking with new readers. For one thing, it is next to impossible to be overly thrilled by a bunch of middle-aged heroes. The mistake was made in the first place in not treating them in their own time period, the 1940s. I can understand why this wasn't done. Your competition beat you to it, but this was a mistake nonetheless. That must be a reference to the Invaders, I think.
It certainly is.
And we'll be talking more about the Invaders on the show very soon indeed. To rectify it, the heroes must be rejuvenated. One can conceive of several intriguing plot lines that would lead to that result. Secondly, the new reader is being asked to follow subplots that have been stretched absurdly thin. The subplot involving Alan Scott has had a total of 4 pages in the last 6 issues. That is a year in a reader's life.
Gosh.
Then, the Shining Knight is introduced in one issue, presumably to motivate a time shift to King Arthur's time, but then he plays no significant role in the adventure over the next 2 issues, as we've sort of kind of discussed. Characterisation is a third area of difficulty. The Star Spangled Kid began as a youth out of his own time with a borrowed power and considerable self-doubt. Suddenly, he has turned the cosmic rod into an omnipotent cosmic converter belt that makes Green Lantern's power ring look like a dime store trinket. Finally, the powers that be have failed to understand the uniqueness of the original JSA concept. 17 pages is just inadequate to do justice to the concept. If any book deserves a tryout at $1, it is All-Star Comics. Separate chapters for individual stars, or 2-man teams with each chapter assigned to a different artist is what All-Star had that no one has ever copied. Certainly not any of the current team books. And that letter with some amazing erudite insight comes from Don Wheeland, Mount Clemens, Michigan. And the response to that is...
Much as we hate to pull a catch-22 on you, Don, the reason All-Star isn't monthly, 50 cents or $1, is that sales don't permit it. And until they do, we'll have to settle for less radical improvements. Many of your other criticisms were very valid, including several space limitations force us to excise. Paul wishes to comment that since this is only the 2nd issue he's actually written without either Keith or Wally altering his plots, he'll be putting some of your structural criticisms to use, such as not introducing superfluous characters, or letting plot threads dangle forever. But he contends that the mixture of aging and growing heroes is one of the most interesting aspects of All-Star, and he hopes to prove that to you in the future, within the limits of a bi-monthly 32-page comic. I entirely agree. I think that is what the GSA has, and from this point on, it really has got the mix of old and new.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that makes it special. So yes, entirely agree.
Yeah, and of course that is something to return to with the 1999 series.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
You know, the 1992 series, which our friend Shag Matthews covered recently on his JSA in the 90s podcast, which I guest starred on one issue of as well, wasn't received well at DC editorial, mainly because it was just full of the old guys. Mm-hmm. Jesse Quick was there and Rick had a cameo, but there wasn't really enough of what became a successful formula with the 1999 ongoing, i.e. bringing in Black Canary and Starman and Courtney, etc. as well.
Exactly.
So what we're getting here with Power Girl and the Star Spangled Kid, it's kind of working, and you know, I think that last correspondent, he made a lot of good points. I think he's a little bit harsh on them, because I don't mind the adventures of the older heroes of the middle-aged guys at this point. Mm-hmm. It's quite a unique sort of thing, because obviously Legion is a big giant team of beautiful late teens, early 20s adults at this point.
Yeah.
The JLA is the classic late 20s heroes.
Yeah.
I think there's room for the old guys unless, as long as it's engaging and as long as it's, it's tight. And again, that backs up, I suppose, the point that the guy's making about how Green Lantern's subplot is stretched out for a year, which when you look at it like that is appalling. It really is.
Yeah, very true. It'll be interesting to see where that goes in next week's episode.
Yes, listeners, yes, next week we'll be breaking slightly with our original plan, but just because we didn't want to drag things on with the Icicle any longer than we had to. So we're doing issue 66 slightly earlier than we originally planned, just so that we can get the Icicle into a position where he's free and able to take part in the next comic we'll be doing after that. Aha!
Yes, how exciting. But listeners, you've heard these two issues. You've heard what readers thought at the time of these two issues. What did you think of these two issues? Why don't you write to us and let us know? You can email us at theearth2podcast@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on social media, because we're putting up lots of lovely bonus material for this and indeed every episode. David's got a couple of special things planned for this one.
Oh yes, very much so.
On Facebook, Instagram and Blue Sky, we're at the Earth 2 Podcast, and on Twitter we're at podcast_Earth2, and it is, of course, the number 2 for all of our socials.
It certainly is, listeners. If you're feeling generous, or if you've just newly joined us and want to share appreciation, please consider going to wherever it is you receive your podcast and leaving us a positive review, or finding your way to our coffee page, or is it our comic page now? I'm not sure. And buying us the price of a beverage or a publication. I'm sure Peter would appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, as we have heavily hinted, we're staying in the pages of All-Star Comics. Next week we'll be doing issue 66. How exciting. Go and dig it out if you haven't done so already. On that bombshell.
I've been Peter.
And I've been David. We'll see you in 7 days on
the Earth 2 Podcast.
Transmatter Cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime.
You haven't won yet, Superman. When I reach my control panel, you'll have more trouble than you dreamed possible.
And we see Vandal running seemingly outside again. Maybe they've just gone round the side of the arena and they've come back in through another doorway. Maybe that's what's happened.
Perhaps.
Imagine if you've come off the pitch at Hampden into that sort of narrow underpass and then turn left and gone round sort of through the corridor car park under the hospitality side and then gone outside and then up the corner and down the slope back in. Imagine it's like that.
I'm imagining it right now.
Anyone that's been to Hampden will know what I'm talking about.